Last time I spoke to Chris, I think it was about a month ago. We met on Twitter, and we went on for like 2.5 hours or so, 2 hours at least, because we had such a great time. And I really wanted to get him in on a conversation so you can hear it. And in this, actually, this conversation went on for about 2 hours or so. But I'm going to release, or you're going to hear the first hour because I think 2 hours is a bit too long. And there are some things that we obviously don't want to share publicly. But the first hour is actually pretty amazing. Now, he's a software developer and he's into simplicity, and his app is really good. Not because I know him now and I talk to him, but it's actually really, really good. And we talk about it quite a lot in this episode. And we generally talk about simplicity and how app makers do things that me personally don't like and he doesn't like either. But it's a fantastic conversation and I'd love to share it with you. And here's that conversation.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I like really told you like what I do like for the as my like day job or anything like that.
You
Like,
touched on it. You touched on it, but I
okay.
don't know 100%. Go for it.
Okay. It's mainly in the like software outsourcing space. Just because I needed to outsource some stuff like a few years ago. Just because I'm a developer, but I just needed more manpower, and I tried like going on Upwork or finding people, and it was the most painful process that I've ever gone through. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm technical and I'm having these problems, like I can't imagine someone who like isn't technical who wanted to outsource software. So I just became obsessed with the problem, and now I'm just trying to see if I can solve it with like technology and process and a little bit of like human element. If I can see if I can make it so anyone that's non-technical that wants to outsource software can do it, and more specifically outsource abroad, like outside of the US. So it's mainly US
Right.
companies. And
Yeah.
if they can do it with like the most minimal risk and basically the keyword is like consistency, if we can bring consistency to it. Because that's the hard part. Like sometimes you get
But
lucky and it works, but sometimes most of the time you don't.
but building apps, or what do you mean by so yeah,
Yes.
building apps,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Building apps. Yeah. So building apps. I mean, I love software so much that I basically have just made it my life. Like, and now that's like also my full-time job. But it's a lot of client related work, and it's one of the most like complex like client related work because a lot
Right.
of money is involved,
Yeah.
and if you any sort of screw up, there's no undo button for that. Like, it's really
Yeah.
hard because if like and yeah, we had an issue like with multiple clients where just a bunch of things were going wrong, and I was like, okay, if a bunch of things are going wrong, maybe it's like at the management level, like maybe something else is going wrong. So I had to have some conversations with one of the partner firms that we work with, and it was a huge like, introspective conversation. So it wasn't like a hey, you're doing a shit job, like we're here to punish you.
Yeah.
It's more of like let's dig deep and figure out why, like what happened. And a lot of it is actually due to COVID. So they're explaining like we're looking at that, and they're just not as effective when they're not in the office, and we figured that out. But then there's a lot of other. I think they just grew too quickly, and all these other stuff. One of the
But
partners that we work with for development.
but you're doing all of this while you're doing your own app, right? So how do you
Yes.
stay sane? I mean, the whole point of yeah, okay. So what I do is tech minimalism, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And so how do you keep sane? How do you
Yeah.
keep on top of things? I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I would be lying if I had the answer. But I'm still trying to figure it out, which is probably why I keep jumping between project management tools and I keep asking people, what
Oh
do you
wow,
use? What do you
come
use?
on. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's the worst
So
thing. That's the worst
yeah,
thing.
so I'm still trying to figure out what's a good, like a way for me to balance it and a good process. The one I've stuck with right now is, I'm now using this tool called, Sunsama. I don't know if you've heard of this one.
No, I
Um,
haven't. No.
but it's almost like the way they describe it. It's if Trello and Google Calendar like had a baby, and like
Right.
literally, it's like the comment someone like literally just combined these two products together, And I found out that it's actually, it has like a lot of like I could build this in Notion, which I tried to do, and I tried building it in other project management tools, but um, it's they built it. It's like a very opinionated software, so they're like, this is
Right.
how you use our software, and
Mm.
they just had such little tiny flows that made it like they just helped police me so much better. Like a good one is any tasks you didn't do that day will roll over to the next day, and then if it rolls over like X amount of days consecutively, it'll just remove it and put it in this backlog. So that way, because it'll probably they
Right.
kind of determine, oh, you're skipping it this many days. It's probably not that important to you. You should revisit it in the future then.
It's interesting because I use things, and I
Yes.
like the way that things does it because it doesn't nag you. It doesn't put it into any list. It
Doesn't.
just stays there. Like, by the way, do you want to
Right,
do it?
right,
It's kind of up to
right,
you to kind of move it somewhere. And I find that to
right.
be much better because I've used 1,001
Yeah,
apps and stuff to do it. And
right.
oh man, my system is so mishmushy, but it's
Yeah.
concise. I mean, I know what I'm doing with it. The thing I find with a lot of software is you have to be able to get your data out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
You do.
if you
You do.
don't like a tool, then you can move somewhere else relatively easily. I've obviously,
Right.
and that's kind of, I look for that in apps because I don't want to
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
kind of, so
Locked in.
locked in too much. I mean, they don't do it purposely. Some do,
Mm-hmm.
but generally they
Right.
don't. But technically, it's something they haven't done, and
Right.
it's not worth them spending that time. So they're not doing it maliciously, but it's like technically it's going to take too long. So fuck it, we'll do something else, and
Right.
that I don't like. But so my job is to waste time with tools, so my clients don't have to basically. So I
Right.
see
Right.
all of this stuff, but my own system is so bare bones. It's laughable, but it
Yeah,
works,
yeah, yeah.
and it works
Right.
really freaking well. This
Yeah.
past week, I've been looking at 2 or 3 different apps for myself,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, this will work." So I use it for 2 days. Like, no, this shit.
Yeah,
Next,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I do. So I think I don't like tools that do more than one thing, right?
yeah.
Because I find that when tools try to do a lot, think of ClickUp.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
they do so
Yeah.
much, they don't do anything specifically well.
Well, yes, yes, yeah. I
And
completely understand that.
and that's a problem. Like your app does one thing and it does it well. There's some things
Hmm.
wrong with it. We'll talk
Okay,
later.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nothing major. I mean, I actually do
Right.
like it. I tried to use it, but it doesn't really work with my workflow, and that's
Yeah,
fine. But
yeah.
it's a great app. It's a simple app, but there are certain things that could be improved. But that's normal with
Right.
software. It takes time
Yeah.
to get there. But there are some apps that are just so freaking complicated,
Oh, yeah.
too
Yeah.
many buttons, not quite intuitive enough, et cetera, and they're expecting you to use it in your workflow, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a headache. And yeah, one that I've been working with, I won't name it, but one that I've been working with for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Yeah, about 10,
Hmm.
15 years or so. It's a great app, but it tries to do too much, but it does things that you want it to work because it's such a great idea.
Yeah.
But every single piece of that app is just really bad. But as a
Hmm.
whole, it's a fantastic app. But nothing
Interesting.
inside it
Okay.
works so well. And that's a
Yeah,
shame.
yeah,
So I went back to it
yeah,
this week, and I was like, I used it for 3 days. Like, okay, no, this is actually
yeah,
today,
yeah.
just before you got on the call, something wasn't working. I'm like, this is so simple. Why I
Right.
said, right, no, let's just get my data out. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of that. You must come
Yeah,
across
yeah.
that doing what you do, obviously.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, it. As a developer, I kind of understand why people do it, but I have to try to fight myself not to do that. But
Right.
it's just because when we talk to users and we try to hear what they want, usually I honestly think it's just because we get bored very easily, and we're
Right.
just we kind of want like almost like when you know, try a new product, you're really happy with it, then you get kind of bored of it, and then you want to try another thing,
Right.
even if it's
Right.
working for you, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
that's always something you have to fight. Same with
Yes.
developers, like they just want, they're like, oh, okay, I love my product, it's great. And then they're like, but now I'm kind of bored. I just want to add something new. And then if one user puts it in their head that this is what they want, they'll immediately latch onto it and be like, okay, this is what I need to acquire more users. This is what I want to do. But it is very, like, I think it does take discipline for a developer to try to like actually iterate on a feature rather than iterate on the product. And like that's a huge thing that I know a lot of developers struggle with. That's probably why so many projects are abandoned also. Like developers are always like, they keep wanting to, they just need like a lot of stimulation and a lot of like user praise. And usually you only get praise when you deliver new features, not when you
Yes.
make things better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it takes a really strong developer to like, or a company that directs the developer to like, you know, like, hey, this is, you need to make this thing better, like rather
This
than
is the
work on
thing.
something new.
I mean, you work on your own, obviously. You don't. There isn't a team or anything when
Right.
you for your app.
Yep. Yes.
That's completely different to companies who do have this team
Yeah.
behind them. Completely.
Yeah.
So when people like you, a sole developer, create something, yeah, people have to understand. Listen, dude, this is guy's on his own, so there's certain things that are going to take longer. Completely understandable. But there are big companies. I'll name one, Calendly. Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And
Jesus.
yeah.
And they've just changed their logo and it just looks like a
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
it looks like
I
a
saw that.
turd.
Yeah. Yeah.
From I mean it's so
It
stupid,
does look
but
like
anyway.
yeah.
It does look like it looks like a electrified
It looks like a
turd.
toilet seat. It looks like, it
Oh
also looks
yeah,
just
there
straight
you
up
go.
like a toilet seat.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
But I've spoken to I mean they had iCloud Sync. CalDAV Sync.
Okay.
But then they stopped it. And you ask them why, and they're like, well, you know, developers, it's a bit hard to do. Like, no, it's not hard to do. It's just you can't be asked to do it. There's a difference. And it's been
Right.
years because they had it, they took it away. And don't tell me there's no framework there. I mean, it's stupid. Of
Yeah.
course there
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
when people ask you, because it's they have a website where feature request, what the fuck's going on type thing. And it's been in there for years.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah,
but
it's
then
just-
they'll change their logo. Who the fuck
Yeah.
cares about the logo? Sorry, I'm getting angry because
Yeah,
it just
yeah, yeah,
irritates me.
Yeah,
Who
no,
fucking
no.
cares about the
I
logo?
get it.
I don't want the toilet seat. I want the, you know. But again, they will come out with, or this is in their minds. Well, we make software we want to use, and if you want to use it, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. That's such a bullshit thing for a company like that to say. That's different to a sole developer. There are differences, right? If a sole developer creates something, I want to create it because it's something I like, and then sells it, that's a completely different kettle of fish. We're a company that does this, and we do it. Basecamp's like that, and I love them and I hate them for it as well, right? So it's crazy how they do that.
Yeah. Every company does it, tries to take an approach. But the companies that do say like, you know, we're trying to build something that we want to use, I agree. I don't really, I definitely was in that camp. I mean, as a solo developer, like it makes more sense that I'm in that camp, but even if I had a team, I would have been in that camp. But, and like we talked about last time we spoke, I've definitely changed my tune. I now see why like that doesn't make any sense. Like I've definitely come around. Even as a solo developer, I don't even believe that myself anymore. Like that, you know, I'm building this for myself. Like I think when you get to a certain point where, especially the point where you actually want to like make money, even just make money, not even grow it, but you just want to sustain it. You do have to you really do have to listen to users. You do have to do that. Because it's not, unless it's like an art project, unless it's like literally like like this is your art, and like you genuinely like aren't trying to, you're trying to like, you know, use this as your medium of like expression, then sure, you could totally do that. But if you actually want users, you have to
listen to them. Well, this is the thing I commend you for when you tweeted out that you're actually talking to clients, talking to users.
Right. Mhm.
they're so invaluable, because you said this on in your tweets as well. Like, it's so
Yeah.
invaluable talking to someone who's actually using away from
Yeah.
you. So you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
using it. You use it in a specific way and you had an idea of how you use it. But when you
Right.
talk to other people, you're like, oh, I missed that. Oh, actually, I don't want that. You actually have you have proper
Yeah.
feedback. And a lot of
Yes. Yeah.
developers don't do it. This is kind of what
No.
I wanted to talk to you about. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
amazed that there's a developer that's actually doing it. Now,
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword as well, as you
Yeah.
understand. Like, if you listen to everything, nothing will get done, right? So
Yeah.
you have
That's
to
true.
be careful of what you can do and what you don't want to do. There are things that you just
Right.
don't want to do. When we
Yep.
spoke last time, and I wish that was recorded, because it's such a great conversation we had. But
Yeah. Yeah.
actually, it was one of the reasons why I pushed these conversations forward, because of our
Oh, nice.
conversation.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
But we when we were talking, I've lost my train of thought, but it was good, and we'll just laugh about it. I will come back.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
but it'll come back to me. But you said something that was really intriguing to me at the time about user feedback and things like that, because you were
Yeah.
thinking about doing it then
Yeah.
as well.
Yes, I was like, literally just starting to like consider it because of our conversation. Honestly,
Oh,
like
really? Wow.
that was a huge like that was a huge push,
Yeah.
because I talked to a lot of users, but I could tell that I could tell I was kind of almost like dominating the conversation, and I know so
Right.
many developers that do this because they just think like, oh, we know it, like we know, like you don't understand like how hard certain things are to push out. So whenever a user actually gives feedback, usually they get in the defensive mode and they're like, oh, well, we can't do that because this exists, like, unfortunately, or
Exactly.
like they
Yes.
kind of, or they're like, I've already thought of that. Like, but like when you are, I think you're very different from most users too, because you're probably the most
Yeah.
vocal person that I've met when it comes to feedback. And that was so amazing for me because I never had someone who I didn't have the chance to like rebuttal anything, and but that was amazing. But that was awesome because then I actually had to. Basically, you forced me to have to listen to like to your reasons, and then as I started listening, and you gave me like 3 or 4 things in a row, I was like thinking to myself, holy shit, I think this man's right. I actually am starting to understand. I'm starting to see it. Like, and then
Yeah.
the other thing. Oh yeah, sorry. The other big thing was you. I gave you my roadmap of like, here's some things I want to work on, like calendar integration, certain things, and I haven't encountered a user who, and probably because I would like immediately respond to what they were saying, but I've never had a user tell me no, like I really don't like that, or like I would not use that at all. Like when
Right.
I told you, I forgot what the specific feature was. I think it might have been a calendar integration or something. You were like, or a way to like link contacts and like have them sync
That's right.
2 ways. And you were like, I would seriously not even like, I would run far away from your app if you did that.
Yeah.
And usually users are too nice and they're like, oh, that would be cool. But you were just so like vocal, and I thought that was amazing because
Well,
that actually helped so much.
I think
Yeah,
I've never been a yes man. I've had a
it's
story
good.
before
Yeah,
where I've told, and because yes men doesn't help anything, any
no,
project, any feeling,
no,
any kind of friendship. It doesn't help it move forward. And you're not saying it out of disrespect, or I
yeah,
never say
yeah.
anything out of disrespect. I just think, and I don't think I say it bluntly, although it might come. I think I just lived in Holland too much, because that's what the Dutch are
Okay,
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I've always been true to what I believe without being a dick, right? So if
yeah,
there is something I don't like, I will say it, but I'm not going to say it in an asshole way, because I don't think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair. But I think it's fair enough to say, listen, what the hell are you doing here? What's going
yeah,
on?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes, being in this space for such a long time, and looking at software the way I do in the past 2 or 3 years, the way I have, I
Mhm.
think I've missed my vocation. I should have been a
Yeah,
product manager or something,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I can see
Because
that.
it's like, I would love to do it. I don't have the
Yeah,
experience to do it, but I would love to be in that space, because I think
yeah,
you're right. But product managers, the problem is that they're always saying yes. They either say too much yeses, they either say yes too many times, or they'll just say no at the wrong time. And that's a problem.
Right.
And I think
I agree.
The conversation I had with you, I had the same kind of conversation with Around, the video.
Yeah.
Margot Around. She's a lovely person, and they're a great team. And whenever I speak to them, she's always writing down notes. She's quite funny.
Yeah.
She's always writing notes. And I'm not saying I've helped in any way whatsoever. I'm not trying to be big-headed, but it's nice that developers do listen to their users, basically.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, honestly, something I actually kind of learned from you, because then I started researching it a bit more. Because I actually had to research like how to properly talk to users. What is the best way to do this?
Right.
Because I realized when I did talk to users, I don't think I was actually doing it. And so I had to rethink the structure. And it's not as simple as a lot of people think. Because a lot of developers are like, okay, it's obvious, I'll talk to users, but they don't actually talk. They just usually talk at the users. Like they don't actually like have a conversation. And I think something powerful when a user like you is so vocal about it, like I respected it so much because it showed that you cared about the product as much as I did.
Wow.
Like you literally, like you actually, and that made me want to listen even more, because I was like, oh my God, that's also why now I try my best to also talk to power users of Mogul. And I also weigh their feedback a lot more, which I've seen in a lot of like frameworks on how people are supposed to do user interviews and stuff like that. It's weigh the power user feedback way more than anyone else's, because they're the ones that'll use the product for its greatest benefit. They'll also be the ones that'll be the biggest advocates for the product, and it already clicked with them. So you just need to figure out like who they are, how to get more people like them, and then also like how to fix any sort of like what's stopping them from falling deeply in love with the product. Like that's what you should be focusing on, not like new things to acquire. You should try to double down on those kind of people. And the more vocal someone is, usually the more power, the more that they actually like give a shit about your product, like as much as you do.
No, absolutely. I think the power users are the early adopters. The power users, they're the ones that you've got to kind of mother in a way, listen to. But also I find a lot of software companies, again, individual developers are different, but software companies who have an app, they'll change their logo. They'll add such stupid features rather than fixing old features, rather than fixing bugs, rather than fixing the things that people and their clients are saying. And it's not just one or two. You go to their forums or their community centers and you see this slew of stuff. But we didn't work on that. We're just going to give you this. That doesn't work. That just fucks up your product even more than anything else.
Yeah.
Everyone wants their own, their thing, what they want for the app. But it's not good for the community. It's not good for the app. So why even bother with those things? Why not fix what's going on right now? There's an app right now that I'm using, which is actually a really nice app, which is called Craft. But there are many things in there that I don't like. But as a general rule, as what it is, I actually do like it. And one of the main things that I like is that I can share documents with a link. I love that. You can do that in Notion and various other things. But I just like the simplicity of how Craft works. And they're bringing out like agenda notes to
yes.
Right. So they're bringing out that kind of thing.
Right.
So now, great idea. However, there are lots of other things they could have worked on. Right? They have a great product as well, but they're just adding more and more and more things. And I'm afraid it's going to get to a stage where all the old things are not quite right. I'm not saying that there are bugs, because I haven't found any, although there are some, but they're not major things. But fixing other things. Like, for instance, if you send a link to someone, the person, so it works on blocks, just like Notion. You can comment on individual blocks. Well, that's a great idea. That's a great feature.
Hmm.
but it's a
Hmm.
pain in the ass when for a different use case. I.e., if I'm sending a doc to a client, I want the person to
Hmm.
comment on the doc, not on the
Not the
blocks,
block. Yeah, yeah. Right.
right? So like, why didn't you think of this? Oh yeah, we'll work on that. But no,
Yeah,
next week they're
yeah.
going to give us calendar shit. I mean, come on,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
work on the
Yeah.
stuff. Work on,
Yeah.
and what makes me even more angry is that you have a product and you create this thing. They do have a roadmap, but it's not on the roadmap. And then you come up with
Hmm.
ideas and go, why did you not think about this? So for instance,
Hmm.
you can share links for the document, but you can't share links for the folder. Well, if I'm working with a
Okay.
client, I want
Yeah. Yeah.
they should have access to, why didn't you think about this? It's such a
Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
thing. Hence why I think I've lost, I missed my vocation. Because like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no thinking involved. It's more a case of, I want to build this thing and yeah, use it. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, next
Yeah.
week we're going to add something else. Like, Jesus Christ, come
Yeah.
on. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Have you used
Yeah. Yeah. I
Craft?
completely get that. Yeah, I did. I did. I actually I saw it on you tweeted about it, and then I was like, okay, if Kay tweeted about it, I have to check it out. Like they definitely, if I haven't heard about it and he's using it, I'm like I missed out on something. So I did download it, did use it. It was really, I was so impressed though how like it did feel so native compared to Notion,
Yeah,
because I literally switched from there to Notion. I couldn't keep it because I did need something with like Kanban and like more database kind of structure, because I was trying to
right.
figure out a good system. And I figured out, okay, it's amazing for writing. It's amazing for sharing, like, creating documents for client stuff. It's amazing. Like I get
It's
that.
great. Yeah.
Um, I was so impressed by how polished it felt, and how a lot of the core stuff they did actually did feel really good. I guess I didn't dive deep enough and use some of the features. Like I didn't have anything to share, so I never got to experience that part.
Sure.
But
Right.
um, writing, and I was really impressed by those things. And then I looked at their changelog too, because I was curious, like, how long have these guys been around? Is this like a new app, or
Yeah.
and it looks like they've been working on it for quite some bit, and they've raised money for it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens, like especially if, since they've raised money and they're trying to grow quickly, are they going to are they going to start? Is the quality kind of going to go down? Just because it seemed like that was a huge focus for their team, is like they really cared about like the quality. That's why they went native first. That's why they it seemed like they're very thoughtful about
But
everything.
also the
But yeah,
security aspect of it. They really thought about the
mm,
security
they
part of it,
did.
which is something that really, I'll tell you now, and I haven't told anyone else, and this is kind of
Yeah.
live in a way. I've actually stopped using Basecamp because of it.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Because
Interesting.
what I
But this
was
is because of the
using,
security.
not
Oh,
because of the security, really, because I trust Basecamp.
mhm.
But the way I used the way I used to use Basecamp,
Mhm.
I don't work in a team. I work on my own. So I wanted a
Right.
way to share documents with clients in an easy way. Now you could do it
Oh,
with
okay.
Notion and stuff and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but it just looked crappy in Notion. I
Yeah.
don't know, it
Yeah.
just didn't look
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And Basecamp was fantastic because it was so simple, blah, 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 right? Share it,
Mhm.
done, and you can put your clients into it and whatever. But the things that I did with Basecamp I wasn't using all of the features, even though I think it's a fantastic tool, and I still would tell
Yeah.
a lot of team members to use it more so than anything else.
Yeah.
For me personally, I moved over to Craft, and it worked just like that. I was really
Interesting. Okay.
freaking surprised. So I'm interested in this calendar feature that they're bringing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I stopped using Basecamp because of Craft.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm trying to. I'm curious now what you used, like which features of Basecamp you used, and then to see like what the counterpart is in Craft, and like I would love to compare. Like,
The main thing for me was to write up documents and get clients to comment on them. Is this right? Is that?
okay.
I mean, that's
Oh, okay.
basically
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
when
Okay.
you give a document to a client, I'm all about usability, and the less clicks, the better, and the thing
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
got to look nice. And again, you can do all of this in lots of different apps, but the lots of different apps that I know of, they don't look right. And when you give
Yeah,
them to
yeah,
a client, they just completely get lost. Basecamp, you put them in, it's there. They comment at the bottom, and fantastic.
yeah,
Craft works slightly differently, but again, because it looks so beautiful, I've sent
yeah, yeah.
a document. I'm building a studio for a client of mine. He wanted to
Mhm.
do videos, so he said
Yeah.
make a document. So I created a document where it had 3 sections: lighting,
Mhm.
video, and audio. And when you click on it, it just the pane kind of comes. I mean, you've seen how
Yeah,
it works.
yeah,
It's a beautiful
yeah,
app.
yeah, yeah.
And what they've done is commented on the individual items that I've noted for them that they
Mhm.
should buy. So, feedback, whatever. Beautiful. I made a little video, I embedded it saying this is how to use it. And it
Yeah,
worked, which is
yeah,
basic
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
what I was doing in Basecamp, but why am
yeah,
I paying $100 for the same thing a month
yeah,
for the
yeah,
same thing where this,
yeah.
so and as you said, because it's a native app, it's a beautiful app. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people kind of said that it looks very much like Things, like how beautiful Things.
Mm-hmm.
I agree
Right.
with it. I agree with them.
Yeah.
They're the 2 apps that I use, actually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I mean, they're both things is like one of those standard apps that they really haven't added like any new
No.
functionality, honestly, but they just keep iterating and doubling down on like what is working and what's good.
Yeah.
Also they're um yeah, you could tell because even in the last like 2-3 years, I mean they do major releases like 2-3 of those things, but I don't know how long Things 3 has been out. Maybe like 2 years, I think, or
Two,
something like
three
that.
years.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I used to use Things 2 and 1. Like when it first came out, it was like,
yeah,
well, this is really simple. What the hell is this? And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the thing is, when things are simple, you look at it and go, why the hell am I using it? But then
yeah,
once you start using it and understanding why it's so simple, you're like,
hmm,
dude, this is all you need. So
yeah,
Things has been kind of the center of my business effectively. I
yeah,
use it for absolutely everything. The
right,
fact that you can put emails into it and think, I mean, it's all you need. You don't need fluff. There are things that are missing from it, and I wish it had it,
hmm,
which is attachments
hmm,
and various other things. But to be honest, if they added it, would it take away? That's what a lot of people are asking. Like, well,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't have to use it. Some people would want it.
right,
So,
yeah,
but I can imagine them coming up with things for and
yeah,
blowing everyone's socks off. I mean, I can imagine it because, like you
yeah,
said, they release major releases, and not features, but bug
yep, yep,
fixes and
yep,
slight changes, and that's exactly
yeah,
what the space needs. Just
yeah,
have a good product and just fix the issues, fix the little
yeah.
things people are missing.
Yeah, I think I think that's a system that again, a lot of developers and even companies I just think aren't disciplined enough to
Yeah,
to do something like that. And I think them having to do major releases and then just like literal small UX improvements or bug fixes for the minor ones, that's a way I think to like almost like force that discipline. Like you can't like they if they wanted to put features, then they would be taking away from sales from things four. So even from a business standpoint, like
right.
it kind of polices them to not go too crazy like during things three and diluting it or anything like that. And when somebody uses things three, they're getting what they paid for. Like they're getting what they paid for. And because I mean, sometimes when you add a lot of things, a lot of developers think I'm doing the user a favor. Like they're gonna want these things, but for the users that don't want this feature, you're making it worse for them. You're actually like taking away almost from them from the experience. And I think this forces them like this kind of system of like major releases, minor releases is like an actual. I think it's a good way to police. I never actually thought about that. That's a
I mean,
good way to.
this is how when software first came out, you had version 1, and then 3 years
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
later, you had version 2, and 4 years later,
yeah,
you had That's the way it used to be. Now, I think people are just getting bored. It's like doing the scroll feed kind of thing, scrolling.
yeah, yeah,
It's crazy because
yeah,
it's like, no, this is not what we want. We just want a product that works. And if we find a bug, we kind of want it fixed, you know. But again, you know, this whole in the olden days, you paid for it and that was it, right?
Yeah.
Which is what things have done from day one. But you do yours as a monthly fee, which is fine, because I think you're working for it. I'm going to pay for it because it's worth it. Don't have a problem. What I have a problem with is when companies don't fix the things that people using it need fixing, and then they just keep adding features. Because I think what the developers are thinking, oh, I'm taking this money, I better give them something. Don't give them features. Give them the fix. Give them the fix. Yeah. And then do the major updates while working on it, but just don't keep doing it, because as you said, it's taking away from the people who are actually using the product now and love it the way it is.
Right. I think that's exactly it. And then, I mean, another reason that, like from a business standpoint, whether one person or multiple, like a big company, I mean, when they assume like new features, they assume, okay, new customers, like we can get new customers with these new features. But something that I learned, and I talked to a guy, his name is Josh, he's like a retention consultant, and he like blew my mind, because I seriously I think I was very also obsessed with how can I get new people in the door. But then he kind of explained to me, what's the point of getting them in the door if you can't keep them in the door? And he was like, you need to focus on retention. And I was like, okay, let me figure out what that actually means. And then I figured out it meant, you know, that's when I figured out also, like, and I had this conversation a week before I talked to you. And that's when I started thinking about, maybe I should talk to users. Right. And you really solidified it with me. But he told me, like, I think if you focus on retention, then, you know, when you do want to acquire new users and you do work on new features and you do things, the chances of them staying are significantly higher, because you worked on the existing stuff. You worked on the kinks there. And I think a lot of companies, they just don't want to accept that. Like they don't, or they're too naive, and like me, like I did not know that before I talked to him like that. But it just makes it's just common sense. Like
it is common sense.
I think,
what's the point? I think I think it goes back to, we're taking this money, so let's give them features.
Yeah.
And that's such a wrong way of doing things. I think what you should be doing, what you should be thinking is, I'm taking this money, let's make it better.
Yes.
That's what it should be, not let me make something else, because the more you make, the more bugs they're going to be in it. I mean, I'm not a programmer, but I know how it works, right? It's just the way it is. But if you're adding new features, your bug list is just getting bigger and bigger. So people get more frustrated. Your users are going to get more frustrated. So just fix the damn thing, not to you, but fix the damn thing that you have, rather than just adding the features. And like what you're doing is amazing, because not many people do it. They do reach out, like you said. I get reached out all the time by these companies because I am vocal. But you can just see it's just going over the head. They don't care. It's like I've had 3 conversations over the years with Calendly and 3 different people. And every time you talk to them, oh, I'm new, it's different, we're thinking, no, you're not, because I spoke to 2 people before, and you're not even listening, you're just writing down what you're going to have for dinner later. You're not listening.
Yeah. Honestly, or I mean, they're also like, I know that a lot of developers also, when they do like these user interviews, they don't actually, they're only going to listen if you say something that like resonates with them.
Right.
Or if it validates what they're trying to do. So if they want to build the calendar, and the user says, well, I'd rather like there's these 2 issues with link sharing, they'll be like, okay, that's cool. Then the minute you mention calendar, they'll be like, I knew it. I knew this is what I needed to do. And then they'll have something to show their manager, show the project manager, and be like, look, I told you. And they're going to try to like downplay the other parts. But I know so many people that end up doing that. And you're right. I can tell too, when I like give user feedback to some products, it's very clear that their eyes light up when I say something that resonates, because it's what they wanted to hear.
It's what they want.
I guess that's human nature. That is human nature, though, but it does take a disciplined developer to I
No,
think.
absolutely. I mean, going back to around that the video
Yeah.
conferencing, so it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful app. Love it. There were some features that I didn't quite understand, so I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Mhm.
Why is this isn't here?" And they were like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't think of that." I'm like, "How did you not think?" So you
Yeah.
have a you open a room and you wait for
Yeah.
people to come in, but you don't know they're coming in because there's no beep or anything. They just come
Oh,
in.
really? Okay.
Like, are
Wow.
you
Yeah.
kidding? Do you no one in your team thought about this? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
And there's so many of those
Yeah.
little things in a lot of
Yeah.
apps. They're not the only ones. I mean, there's so many little things in a
Yeah.
lot of apps that they don't think about. But as you said, I think I think listen just like you do, because I think you want to make your product bigger, better,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah. I
you're
do.
listening, because you want to get feedback. But there's a lot of companies that don't give a shit, and they just want to,
Yeah.
like you said, oh, I was thinking a calendar. He said calendar. Let's do calendar, right? Like,
Right. Right.
no, you heard it from
Yeah.
one person. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's crazy. But most of
Yeah.
these productivity apps, this whole shiny object syndrome thing, everyone has it. Everyone, even I have it. I have it because of what I do, but I do have it. And I saw a post on LinkedIn today from someone I know, and he linked to an article. It wasn't his article, about these are the apps that are going to help your productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, the app don't matter. It's how you work that matters. It's not
Right.
the app. If you find an app
Right.
that works the way you think,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
fantastic. But you have to understand how you work before you pick the app. If you just get the app, you're just going from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And that just
Right.
doesn't work. And the thing I like about your app is that it's really freaking simple. It's like so
Yeah.
simple, and it does make sense. There are some things that I don't like about it, but that's normal. I'm weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but the idea of it is great. And out of the other apps in the space, I'd rather use yours, not because I talk to you, but because it's so much more simpler, because you don't try to do
Right.
anything more than what the app is supposed to do.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And this is the thing, most of these other apps, all these, any kind of productivity app, as it were, they try to do too much.
They do. Yeah.
And they lose focus on what their core business is.
Yeah. 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 I
Huge
yeah.
problem.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Yeah. I honestly, like, I would say that, like, simplicity. I mean, it sounds really like,
It's cliched, I know.
yeah,
It's
it's
so
very
weird.
cliche, but like, I
Yeah.
honestly think simplicity is like, it is a feature. Like, being able to
Yes.
have that is a feature, and it's something that has to, like, you have to consciously think about it. Like, when you're going to add a feature, which is why, like, when I do add a feature, it takes me a long time to figure out, is this the right move? And then also, how can I make it so it's in the exact place where it won't get in the way of someone who doesn't want it? Or, like, I need to make sure that it's there for the user who wants it, and it's there for the power user or whoever's going to use it. But it cannot even be seen by the person who does not want it. Like,
Yep.
they need to be able to have that kind of control, which is why so many things are, buried in the settings, where when you turn them on, then you'll now see them in the UI, and now it's all visible. But if you don't want it, it will never bother you.
Yeah.
It'll, like, it's almost like it didn't exist. And I think that's something that a lot of the competitors that I've seen, they keep adding new things. And now when I look at, like, I think they started with good intentions and it was simple, but, like, it just does so much. There's so many options, so many buttons, and I already know I personally won't use more than 30% of them. And I'm sure that a lot of users, it's actually funny how I've had the users that have come to me, most of them come not because they found me, but because they used a competitor and then they found me through that. And
Right.
no, the number one thing is why they switch is the simplicity, which is really funny, because it's like they do very similar things to me, but I just have less features, and they see that as a feature, almost like an advantage.
It's a feature. I mean, it is an advantage because, as I said, they're doing a lot of these productivity apps are just doing too much. Think of Todoist, for instance, right? Todoist was a simple to-do app that did the basic things. And I'm not saying they do it badly or anything, but they've added so many features, and I know a lot of people who moved away from it.
Yep.
which is a shame because they have features that other companies like Things don't have, collaboration,
Hmm.
sharing, and stuff like that, and commenting, attachments. Doesn't have, but they'd rather use Things because of the simplicity,
Yeah.
even though they're
Yeah.
missing. And I'm one of them. I used to use Todoist, and I
Yeah.
loved it. It was fantastic. I could share it, but then I realized, well, do I need to share it? Because I don't want to see
Mhm.
all this other stuff. And to me, Todoist is very PC-like, and Things is very
Mhm.
Mac-like. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that
Okay.
matters a lot to
Yeah,
me
I
as
know what you
well.
mean.
That matters a hell
Okay.
of a lot to me. It's the same with Basecamp. Basecamp is very
Yeah.
PC-like, and Craft is very Mac-like. I'm kind of
Yeah.
getting back
Yeah.
into this Mac
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, being the Mac junkie that
Yeah.
I am, kind of thing.
Yeah. No. 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 I honestly like. I think that's. I mean, that's a good point. That's definitely what I would want for a mogul compared to competitors. Like, I definitely want people to think like, if Apple designed something or if they built
Yeah,
something, this is probably what they would want it to be, or like this is what somebody who cares about those like little things and the design and just how it works, like they would use like mobile. Like that's what they would
yeah.
want. Um, that's definitely a goal.
I mean, you know, looking at your app, as I said, I really do like it because of the simplicity. The fact that it's
Yeah,
just a big fat M as well, which is really cool. It's
yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is my logo, which is a big fat K. So,
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
I
Just
mean,
right next
it
to each other.
honestly, it really is simple. There are, you know what? I'm gonna be your product manager, and I'm gonna send you some information.
Please. Oh, please, 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 please. Yeah.
And then just give me a credit. At least they know. Maybe I can put it
Oh,
on my
yeah. Oh,
resume.
absolutely,
But no,
absolutely.
honestly, I love it because it is so simple. The I'm a special case, as you know, and the thing is, I want to use the least amount of apps possible, and that's
Yeah,
probably why I don't use it, and it's probably the only reason I don't use it because it takes
yeah.
me a long time to decide that I need another step in my workflow because
Mhm.
my workflow works. I use different
Yeah.
tools. You know, I change tools out to test things, but my workflow doesn't have a CRM. I don't
Yeah.
kind of want one or need one.
Mhm.
If I need one and I want one, I'm obviously going to look at this, but there's certain things missing in the way that I would work. But I'm not
Right. Yeah.
expecting you to add them because that's not what the app is. You see what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
But honestly, looking at it, I like it. This is turning out to be an advert for you, for God's sake, but it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
Just so people get
That's
listening,
so
like, what the
funny.
hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, honestly, I do really like it. But
I appreciate that.
what is actually in your in your tech stack, like the main apps that you're using?
Yeah. Honestly, so right now, Sunsama is I think the biggest productivity one, which
You
go
got
and check again. It's like Trello and
send me a
what was that?
link to that because I
Yeah.
don't know what that means. But send me a link to that so I can check it
Okay.
out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and send it. Yeah, it's extremely pricey for what it is. I think it's like $20 a month, which is it's one of the more like pricey apps that I pay for.
right.
Fantastical is like another huge one that I use like
Yeah,
every day religiously. I use Notion to take like quick notes. They've my biggest like issue with them was the speed. Like it
yeah,
got to the point where I like did not want to open that thing because I was like, it's going to take 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot. It sounds like such a first world problem to have. Is like, wow, it takes
yeah,
2 seconds to open this, but
yeah.
over small interactions add up. And like if I had to wait
Hmm.
2 seconds over like 50 times during the day, it does start adding
It
up a
adds
bit.
up. Yeah,
And so I think
absolutely.
they thankfully made some changes so it's way faster. So I'm starting to use
Hmm.
it just to it's mainly for like throwing recipes or throwing like random note like quick notes in there. I wanted to use Craft for that, but to be honest, I think what I would use Craft for is when I do have to send like very beautiful documents to someone else.
Yeah,
Like I'm for sure using Craft.
yeah.
But I think
Proposals.
for Notion, it's just kind of like that, almost like that, like I post snippets in there, all that stuff. One password I actually use religiously too, which a lot of people don't. A lot of people aren't aware, like a password manager, but I guess I log into so many things, maybe just for my job, but I literally am doing that all the time.
Yeah,
Um, I think that, honestly, those are the core. It's really just since I'm looking at my doc right now, it's always Sensama, Fantastical, or Notion. And I just hop between, just
Eh, I'm
kind of
I'm
between those three.
I'm surprised you don't use drafts actually for adding
No,
like.
no,
I'm surprised at
no.
that. I
Wait,
mean,
what?
what?
Wait, what is that?
What?
What is draft? Yeah, what is
Draft?
that?
Oh man, dude,
Hold
I gotta
on.
send you a link. Seriously, if
Draft?
you're okay, so you've seen my. That's it, right? You've seen it. There's nothing there. Drafts is
Oh,
at the
yes, yeah.
center one in the middle,
What? Okay,
and
I've definitely.
the reason it's there. What someone sent me a message. The reason it's there is for taking notes.
Oh, okay, okay,
It's my scratch
okay.
pad basically.
Hmm.
So let me
Interesting.
see if I can get this up on screen so you see it. Because
Yeah.
I want to do this now. Oh, look, there's two of me. Don't do that. Oh, I can't. For some reason, it's not coming up. Go on. It's not coming up.
Wow.
No, it's
Okay.
not coming up. No, forget it. But it's
It's okay.
check it out. It's an awesome app.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I'm taking a look.
syncs with your phone, your Mac, your iPad, and watch if you have one. But I have it as I have an idea, I want to write it down. Forget Notion.
Hmm.
Forget Notion. It's lit, and you can even write emails in it. So you can write stuff, and it has these scripts where it actually pushes it to things, to your email,
Oh,
to
wow. Okay, okay.
your wherever you want, basically. So I use it like when I'm walking my dog and I have an idea, I just write it down and leave it. I don't put it in my task list or anything because it's not a
Right.
task. I don't use Apple Notes for that. My Apple Notes is more my wiki. It's like my
Okay.
right. So Apple Notes
Yeah.
has a space as a place.
Yeah,
Craft
yeah.
is for proposals and sending documents. Draft is, yeah, as I said, for quick notes and writing. If I'm writing blog post, I use IA Writer, which is beautiful. It's
Okay.
really,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
simple. And yeah, Fantastical and things. That's basically, and I've gone back to Apple Mail from hey.com.
Yeah.
That's another
Right.
video. I'll make a video about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'm just trying to keep it really honed so I don't use
Hmm.
too many apps.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe you don't
Yeah.
know
Okay.
about drafts.
No, I'm surprised too. I think that's really interesting though that you have like um that what you said about like you have specific like you use drafts for this purpose, you use craft for this
Yes.
purpose, you use IA writer for this purpose. Because a lot of people they do try to, and I'm one of those people. I'm always like I'd love to just have one thing for the note
Yeah.
taking app, but like now after I've seen craft, I like can't go. I definitely like I was one of those people that post that do a Notion to send to someone else if I do that.
Right.
But now, like I think I'm going to change the change log for Mogul. Like it's right now in a Notion doc, and there's a link on the website so you can see the change log and
Right.
like what's
Oh, okay.
coming. Like, and I think I might switch it to Craft honestly, just because it's so like it
It's
is such a beautiful
It's
experience.
a really good experience, really simple. I think they're going to do custom domains and things like that soon as well, which would be
Okay,
really nice. So
yeah, that'd
you,
be
I
good.
mean, to be honest with, I was actually thinking you could even have a blog on it. It's got unlimited
Yeah,
space,
yeah,
so you could blog on it.
you could.
One thing they don't
Yeah.
have, which I'm working on, is embedding videos and stuff like that, tweets
Oh,
and
okay,
things like that.
okay,
It doesn't
okay.
have that, which is kind of annoying. But
Yeah,
the simplicity of it, the way it looks, the way it
yeah,
works for the user, for me, the user experience for my client is way more important than anything else.
okay, yeah,
For my client,
yeah,
not necessarily for me.
yeah, yeah.
But I want
Yeah,
it to be
makes
good
sense.
for me. I don't want it.
Yeah,
But the user experience for the client is vital
it's
for
huge. Yeah,
it is huge for it should be huge for everyone. So
yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah,
send something out, I want it to look good. I don't want them to click so many times to do something. If
yeah.
they can do it in one or two clicks, fantastic. If they have to look and figure out what it is,
Hmm.
it's not going to
Right.
work. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
I agree.
really important. But yeah, I think we're kind of the same. It's just like a handful of apps, basically, which is
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it seems like it's very like what I am finding interesting with like what you said about having like IA writer and crafts. It's amazing
Yeah,
for that one thing, like for sending proposals for like if you want a
right.
good end client experience, that seems to be what they're excelling at. For drafts, it's like an amazing like first like brain
Capture.
dump. It's
Yeah.
a really
Brain
good,
dump.
yeah, great place to capture. And I feel like it's kind of going back to that thing we talked about at the very beginning. It's like, you know, if the app can focus on like its core thing or something it's really good at, if it tries to do too many other things, like I'm sure if Craft, they wanted to start competing heavily with Notion, and I think they start adding too many things to the experience, it would totally dilute the
Totally
thing that they're
ruin
good
it.
at, which is
Yeah.
yeah, and vice
I'm
versa.
actually,
Like yeah,
and vice versa. I mean, I'm in their Slack
yeah,
group as well, and there's a guy called Victor, I think, who's the founder. He knows
mhm,
exactly what he wants, and he does listen to other people, which is really nice as well. But he
mhm.
also said we don't want to be Notion. You can
Yeah,
because right
okay,
now it
good.
doesn't. They don't have tables. Everyone's into this tables. I want tables.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
get it, but
yeah, yeah,
fine. But they said
yeah.
tables, yes. Databases, never,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So they're not going to try
Yeah,
to change into a Notion. What they're
yeah.
trying to do is get away from that Notion
Yeah.
thing and make beautiful documents and do some nice things. The thing I don't like about Notion and Craft for writing, because it's not a writing tool.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
IA writing, Ulysses, and things like that, and even Apple Notes, they're kind of writing tools. You're not
Yeah.
messing around
They
with
are.
blocks or anything. And
Yeah.
IA writer I like because of the syntax highlighting. Like
Hmm.
you've written too many words. What the hell does this word
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah.
useless at
Yeah.
writing. That's why I do videos. But
Yeah.
it's really good. The other app that I really like that helps me writing, three apps that I use for writing, which is really crazy. I use
Hmm.
four. Okay, I use drafts to get my ideas down and write a couple of paragraphs. I then put it into IA Writer where it kind of tells me these are
Hmm.
weird words. Sometimes I put it into Grammarly to just
Okay.
check
Okay.
out the commas and stuff,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
case, you know.
Yeah.
And then I put it into Hemingway app,
Okay. Okay.
which is amazing because it's
Interesting.
like, okay, this chunk of words you just don't need. You know,
Yeah.
and then once I have it, then I have a real concise piece of work
Hmm.
writing that I can say I didn't do it, but someone helped me, and it's good. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of work. It isn't really, but because I don't write a lot, I just write a few paragraphs, so it's kind of cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the basics of it. As you said, once you find an app that does that one particular thing really well, keep it.
Hmm.
You're not going to
Yeah.
find another one. That's
Yeah.
the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Unless they dilute it, they end up like
Unless they
trying to do
dilute
more,
it. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then find the alternative. But that's okay. That's interesting. I've actually never met anyone that vocalized that. Like I now that I think about it, I know some people that use multiple writing apps, but now I see why. Like that actually makes sense. Like
There's certain
'cause
reasons.
I don't even yeah.
Yeah, there's certain reasons
Yeah.
that you need to. I mean, I was in the same camp as you. I wanted to find one app that did everything for me. I tried to shoehorn everything into it. But then as the years wore on, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm double your age, I think. So as the years wore
Yeah.
on, I've
Yeah.
realized that you're never going to find one. If you find one, it doesn't do individual things well. So I try to steer
Well,
away
yeah.
from them. And then I find apps that do one thing very well. They can do other things, but it's got to be connected to that one thing. And that's it. And if you want something else, if you want a calendar app, go and get Fantastical. Don't try to. I know people who use Agenda as a calendar. Not a good idea.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
it. They don't use the calendar app. They use like no. They just and then they whine. Why doesn't Agenda do this? Why
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
like it's not made
Yeah.
for that? Don't shoehorn it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll leave it there. Hey,
Yeah.
I love talking to you, man. I could go on for hours and hours like we did last time.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Time flies.
Always a
But
pleasure.
yeah, always a pleasure. And thanks again for coming along. And I'll have another conversation with you another time for sure.
Sweet. Yeah. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
All right, man.
Thanks so much for having me, Kay. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You too. Take care, man. Ciao. Bye-bye.
See you.